What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. I'm gonna tell you something right now, man. There is a terrible misjustice being perpetrated on American citizens right now. This administration should be ashamed of themselves because they are doing something especially heinous with concealing the fact that we have a leader who obviously is not up to the job of commander in chief. He's just not. All right, a lot of this, it's funny, a lot of these things just aren't being reported. They aren't being put out there. But I have a sneaking suspicion that if this was the other guy, right, the guy with the R at the end of his name, it'd be all over mainstream media. But this is just another example of how, with few exceptions, the mainstream media leans to the left. So they're going to protect the guy who has the D beside his name. So this guy, who I'm not going to mention his video, he's in the picture, right? I didn't know this. I hadn't heard about this. This was reported months ago. He was caught with a cheat sheet. I'll put a link to his article in the pinned comment in the comment section below. This is from the New York Post. So the guy that you see right here was caught using a cheat sheet during a press conference back in April. And it revealed that he would have advanced knowledge of a question from a journalist. The question: how are you squaring your domestic priorities like reshoring semiconductors manufacturing with alliance-based foreign policy? That was the question from LA Times reporter Courtney Subramanian. Revelation came during a joint press conference with South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol that discussed growing nuclear threats from North Korea as the nation celebrated the 70th anniversary of their alliance. Another cheat sheet held the names of other administration officials to show the order in which remarks would be delivered at the press conference. It's not the first time crib notes have been outed by speedy photojournalists, which fuels the opposition speculation about this guy's mental acuity. Last June, he inadvertently exposed a comically worded cheat sheet with detailed instructions. You enter the Roosevelt room and say hello to participants. You take your seat. In July 2021, the so-called leader accepted an embarrassing note from an aide, which was also snapped by a photographer that said, "Sir, there is something on your chin." This is the guy that's has his finger on the nuclear button, man. I don't know about you, that scares the hell out of me. This is the biggest miscarriage of justice that I can think of since at least FDR in his fourth term. Well, going into his fourth term. You know, look, the 25th Amendment was passed in the event that the president can no longer can execute his duties, his or her duties, based on physical or, I guess, mental deficiencies, whatever the reasons. If that person is no longer able or isn't able to carry on the duties that they were sworn in from some type of physical or psychological limitations, they should be removed from office. He should be removed from office. Instead, it's being covered up. And it's so hypocritical of the Democrats Because when Reagan was in office, they were the main ones saying that he should resign because he was falling asleep in meetings and talking slower. Now, I do believe that Reagan was slowly falling into Alzheimer's, but I don't think he had Alzheimer's while he was president. But I do think that he was becoming less mentally acute, but not to the extent that Biden is. Remember, Reagan started faltering on his way out. This guy's been this way since going in. He's only going to get worse. We can't reelect this man, and we can't rely on the second option. She's incompetent. So we're in a bit of a quandary here, man. Like, I know, look, this is how I look at it. We can't have this guy get back in. We just can't. We can't have this man go back in, man. He's 80. What is he? 80? He'll be 81 in November. If reelected, he'll be 82. If he lives to see 86, he'll be 86 when he leaves office, which is pushing it. I don't know about you, but I would think that Cam would have a higher than normal chance to be president of the United States in the next 4 to 6 years. Anyway, before I end this video, let me just give you a couple examples of miscarriage of justice with health and presidents. Roosevelt's inner team, FDR, his inner circle, I should say, held a closely guarded secret, and that was that FDR was a dying man. FDR, by that point, had severe heart disease, and he was suffering from vascular dementia, which means that he was increasingly going in and out of mental, acuity. Sometimes he would think himself, sometimes he would go into a fog. That's partially why he did such a poor job in the Yalta Conference in February of '45, a couple months before he passed. Then, even worse miscarriage of justice, the fact that Woodrow Wilson, from the time that he suffered that massive stroke in October of 1919, while he was going on a traveling tour trying to push support for the League of Nations, from October of 1919 until the time he left office back in March. Back then, the term ended in March, not January. That changed in Roosevelt's second term from March to January. But from the time he suffered that stroke in October of 1919 until we left office in March of 1921, we did not really have a president. We didn't. We didn't have a president. He spent most of that time either recovering, hovering near death, or being an invalid. And it was covered up by his wife, his doctor, and a few members of the Democratic Party the few leaders that they could trust. Nobody knew. And we can't afford that, not in this world. This ain't 1919 or 1944. I'm floored that he's that bad. He's that bad. He has to have crib notes. This is not the same Joe Biden from the Obama administration. He's not. This is not the same guy, man. This is a miscarriage of justice that's going on right now. Tell me what you guys think.